So over the past couple of weeks, I've received some questions from Redditors, and I thought that maybe I could answer them in a video format. So if there's someone else out there with the same types of questions, maybe I can help them as well. Of course, I'm not a professional, but I think that with the experience that I've been gathering, I can still give you some recommendations, some opinions, which you can then take into account, do your own research, and see what's the better answer for your case. And of course, if you have questions of your own, you can place them in the comments here, or you can contact me through Reddit if you want. All right, so the first question that we have comes from Ritz57, and they ask the following. Howdy, I'm new to the music production, but I've been watching a ton of your content to see if it's worthwhile for me to get a Novation Circuit Tracks. How do you like it? Does it work with Logic Pro? And are you using it for live shows at all when DJing? All right, so let's break it down. When I'm talking to people online or in real life, I always say that for someone that wants to start making music without relying on a computer, the Novation Circuit Tracks is the best option. And I have several reasons why. The most important one for me is the fact that the Circuit Tracks is just so easy to understand and start using, especially if you have already some knowledge about Ableton Live, specifically about Ableton Live's session view. But even without it, I think all of the controls are laid out in a way that is very easy to understand and very easy to access. There's no menu diving at all on the Circuit Tracks. Basically, all of the main features are accessible with its own button. You don't have to do some shortcuts or button combos to access anything. Everything is just there. This is especially important if you want a device to jam, to play live, because you don't have to memorize button combinations or anything like that in order to access the most important features. Like, for example, if you want to mix, to change the volume of some tracks, you can click the mix button and just go there. If you want to access the synth parameters, you can just click the Synth 1, for example, and access the knobs. You can go to the pattern view and just change the patterns for the different tracks that you have, right? For the different elements that you have. All of this is really easily accessible, and it just makes sense when you start using it. For someone that is not very acquainted to music gear, doesn't have well-established concepts about it, I think it's just terrific. And even when I show it to my friends, they easily understand the basic concepts of how to make music. I think that it's great. It's something that we, especially for people that are already used to the music gear and everything, maybe that's not something that you give credit for. But I think it's a very important thing on this particular device that other products, like for example the Digitakt or the SP404, they don't have this type of ease of use. But of course, then we have the features themselves, right? I think that the Circuit Tracks is a pretty capable device on its own. It's a Groovebox, so it has 4 drum tracks and 2 internal synth tracks. So you can, I'm not going to say that you can create a full song on it. I think you can, but it'll sound a bit hollow, but you can at least sketch songs there. I think it's pretty capable on that. You can go pretty far, especially with the scene feature. Basically, it's a song mode. I think you can create some sketches of songs. Nothing too produced, but start. That's how I've been using it, to start. Maybe then I'll take that and record it into the DAW or take it to some other devices, but the foundation can be made there. It also has built-in effects, like for example, delay and reverb. They're good. They're good enough for what they are, and it's great that the device itself has these types of effects because it can create more polished productions. It also has a sidechain feature, which is something that you don't see very often in Grooveboxes, I believe. At least that's my perception. And it's very easy to use in this device. And the effect, of course, especially for electronic music, the effect is actually pretty cool. So all of these basics, like I said, they're very easy to understand and to use by someone that is new. But then it does have some depth. Of course, it'll never reach the amount of depth that you can get with a Digitakt, but it's also much more complicated in a Digitakt, and it's also more expensive in a Digitakt, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. What I mean by this depth is that you can, for example, you're not stuck to 16 steps per pattern. You can expand it to 32, for example. You can chain these patterns together to create bigger sequences, of course. There's probability options for each step on a pattern. You can change the play order, you can do ratchets, you can even create polymeters, like change the length of a pattern to make it shorter. So it allows for you to get a little bit deep on the music creation process. Of course, it will never reach, like I said, it'll never reach the Digitakt levels of customization per step, but you can still create some interesting patterns using this device. And then another big plus that this device has is the fact that it's portable. It's very portable, right? It's you can easily pack it in a bag and just take it with you. It has an internal battery. It doesn't matter where you are. You can just take it out, jam for a bit, and just put it away, and off you go. So that's not something that you can easily do with other devices. Like, for example, the Digitakt, you need to have a power bank and some special cables in order to do that sort of thing. So I think that it's a big plus. And then, of course, there's the price. I got mine for around 300 euros, but I think I've seen it secondhand for like 200 and something. This varies depending on the country that you're in, but I think that it's a very inexpensive device for what it can achieve. It's not going to be perfect, and I'm going to talk about the negatives in a bit, but for what it is and what it allows you to do, also the expandability that you have, I think 200 euros, 250 euros is a very good price for this. But then, yeah, we come to the negatives. And for me, in terms of negatives, the one that I struggled the most was the internal synths. And this depends a lot on the type of music that you make. For the type of music that I wanted to make at some point, which was like house, the internal synths, they have this abrasive, kind of harsh sound, and I wanted to be, more soft for chords. And I couldn't make it so. I still think that it has that type of sound, but on the other hand, it works really well for basses. So if you like bassy music, or if you want to use this device, for example, to create bass lines, I think it's perfect. It's how I've been using mine lately, and I think it works wonderfully for that. For example, if you want to include it in a bigger setup, this could be your bassline machine, and other devices could handle the drums or the chords, samples, or whatever. But yeah, for that particular usage, I think the Circuit Tracks is quite good, quite amazing. But if you're looking for chords, unless, I would say that this is more applicable to synthwave type of music, where the sound is always going to be more aggressive. So yeah, so before you buy, just listen to some demos, some sound demos, to see if you like that type of sound. You can create your own sounds, of course, and that's a big plus as well. You can use the component software that it has to create your own synth patches, but you will not be able to stray away from that harsh type of sound that it has. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that it does not have audio through USB, which means that if you want to export anything that you do, you have to actually record it by hand manually. And if you want the different parts, you have to record each one of your tracks by hand to your DAW or to any other device. So unfortunately, that's one of the negatives as well. I don't find it that bad, because usually I don't make, really long compositions on the Circuit Tracks. But if it's something that you like to do or want to do, please keep that in mind. So in summary, if you're just starting out, I really do recommend the Circuit Tracks, but keep in mind, do your own research, try to listen to sound demos just to see if the type of sound that it makes is one that you're looking for the type of music that you want to produce. And also, please note that while you can route audio in to the Circuit Tracks, you cannot resample it. Okay? So all the samples that you can have as drum samples, You have to use components in order to put them in. Another part of the question was asking if it worked with Logic Pro. And it depends on what you mean by by working with Logic Pro. This device, you can use its MIDI capabilities through USB to control Logic Pro and any other type of DAW. And you can also use the DAW to control the device itself. You can actually get pretty creative with this because each one of the tracks is a different MIDI channel, but that's something for another video, I guess. It does work with Logic Pro, but in order to route your audio into your computer, you need some kind of audio interface in order to basically route the audio outs of the circuit tracks to your computer. I personally use Zoom LiveTrack L6 to do this. You can use any type of audio interface. Just make sure that it's stereo, that it has stereo inputs, or else you only get mono and it'll sound different. But it does not have USB to audio, right? It's not like the Digitakt, for example, that allows you to route the audio directly to your computer without the usage of audio cables. No, you have to do it like any other audio device and just use an audio interface. Second question comes from HomeTardy11. And they say the following: "Hey man, I've enjoyed your videos and all your input about the circuit tracks. I've never done any electronic music before, but I have played and recorded a lot of rock music. Now I'm really looking forward to try electronic music, and a lot of people seem to love the CT. How capable is it for creating like ambient and chill music? And would I be able to try and recreate something like Pets by deadmau5? Or should I go for something more like the MPC Plus or something similar?" Everything that I said for the previous question, it still applies. Specifically on the question of how capable is it to create ambient or chill type of music, I think it can work for that. Please keep in mind that it does have that harsh sound, but I think you can tone it down by using the filters. Maybe create your own synth patches in order to kind of massage the synth patch into the type of sound that you want. And you can also use the delays and also the reverbs, which they can get like pretty spacey. And for this type of music, I think that they would suit well. You can use the drum samples to add, instead of using it for drums per se, you can add some synth stabs or piano chords or something else that you want there, which you can then add delays or reverbs to, and then creates like that type of atmosphere that is prevalent on this type of music as well. You can get pretty creative like that. Always remember that you don't need to use the drum tracks as specifically drums. It doesn't have to be drum hits. You can put whatever samples there. It does have like a 220 seconds limit in total, but I think that's pretty usable. You can also put vocal chops or whatever. You can use it for whatever you want. You also questioned about recreating this song by deadmau5. I don't know this song. I need to listen to it, and then I can let you know. So I'll skip to the next one. You ask about if you should go for something like the MPC Plus. I would really love to try the MPC Plus. I was eyeing it for quite a while before. At the time, I think I got the Digitakt. But the thing to me is that I look at the MPC and I see it as a very capable unit. It's basically a DAW in a box. But it's also a DAW in a box. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I could include it in my setup. I think it's cool that you can, for example, take it to the living room, to the couch, and just jam away and have more features than a normal Groovebox or some other type of device like the SP404. But I just don't know. It seems like the very thing that makes it so appealing is also the very thing that could probably turn me away from it, just having so many features. And I don't know about you guys, but what I've been finding is that I've accumulated a lot of gear and I've actually put it all together to just use it together. But when I do that, from a conceptual a conceptual point of view, it's great thinking about all of the possibilities, the routings and everything. It's like a puzzle, and I love that. But when I'm actually done and just start using it, it's just cumbersome. It's not immediate. It's not fun to use. Maybe the MPC would be perfect for you because you want to have one single device with all of the features. But for me, it's like, I don't know if it would click for me. I already have like a computer with Ableton Live, so if I want to use a DAW, I'll go straight to it. And the last question comes from ImpressiveBit818, and they say the following. Hey Soulbricks, did you manage to get your minimalist synth set up? I am a beginner and I was wondering if you had any recommendations for modules that are versatile and will require the list module stacking on a rack, or a versatile hardware synth that doesn't require modules but also doesn't break the bank too much. At first, when I replied to ImpressiveBit, I misunderstood what they meant by modules. I thought that they meant modules as a part, a device in a DAW-less setup, but they actually meant modular synths. Regarding the first question, did you manage to get your minimalist synth setup? I'm always changing. I keep changing my setup, like I was talking about. It's something that keeps changing. It is somewhat a problem, but I'm still exploring my possibilities. And yeah, it's a journey, as probably many of you felt before. It's never done. About the recommendations for modules, I don't have a modular setup yet. It's something that I would like to get into later, but it's very, very expensive. And I don't think that I would use it that much to justify spending so much money. For me, it's more like I'd like to tinker, and I'd like to mess with it, and spending 2,000 euros on something just for that doesn't seem reasonable for me. I've used VCV Rack as a replacement, and it actually taught me a lot about the connections, the modules, how to link them together, how to route them together, understand how synths are made. In terms of learning, it's a great tool and it's free. So if you really want to learn about modular, I would really recommend VCV Rack. It can really teach you how these modules work, how you should link them together, and that without spending a dime. And then you can understand if you really want to get into these worlds and spend the actual money on real modules to then mess with. Because the way that I see it, synth modules, you can create music, but the path from idea to get there, it takes so long because you have to mess with so many things that it's not really immediate. So I kind of lose interest if I want to make music in that. That's why I say that for me, it's like a tinker thing. It's like I want to mess with these electronics, but not have like a particular goal with it. But maybe you're different. Maybe you really want to learn and then use this to create actual music. So try VCV Rack first and see if you like it. But in case you're just interested in a synth, I can give you some recommendations. And especially if you're someone that is just starting out, maybe it's better to start with a simple synth, not get into modular, because when you get into modular, that's like really advanced stuff. So if you want a good synth, the standard recommendation is the Microfreak, Arturia Microfreak, right? It's really capable. It has a ton of different modes, different algorithms to create music. It's really easy to understand. All the controls have a specific knob, right? There's not much menu diving with it at all. I like the keyboard, even though some people don't, but the keyboard is like, it's touch. It's a very capable synth. It doesn't break the bank, and it might do what you want to do. Another choices could be, for example, the Monologue, the Korg Monologue XD. I think it's a really great synth from what I've been reading. I never tried one myself, but it seems to be great. Those would be my two recommendations for synths that don't break the bank. You can go cheaper, for example, with a Korg Volca, but I think that with those types of devices, you end up spending more because they are so limited that you end up buying this module and then that module and then that module, and it's kind of like a slippery slope. Keep your gas at check keep your gas at check and try to not go overboard with the spending on those particular devices. All right, so these were the questions for this week. If you have any sort of questions, feel free to place them here in the comments or send them through Reddit. I hope this was helpful for you, and if you like this, subscribe. I'll post more in the future. I have other types of content related to music. And yeah, just keep jamming and keep having fun. That's what matters, all right? See you next time.